So this is Carl now. He was a U.S. Army colonel, was also aerospace executive currently, who spoke at the SALT conference in front of hundreds of companies and investors. And he said that non-human intelligence exists and it's been interacting with humanity. And we have a short video. Carl Nell was very gracious about coming on to was the official disclosure day, which was October 20th?
Right before the election.
Right before the election, yeah. He was able to come on to one of the video call and share this video with everyone. So I wanted to show you guys that really quick. And he kind of talks various subjects on what we know on the record.
As Lou said and Ross alluded, progress on this topic would not be possible without the support and grassroots efforts of the folks that are participating in this chat and the folks that are in your guys' orbit. And so what actually is this topic, right? And Ross and Lou also have alluded to this. Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity on this planet. This interaction is ongoing and it's not new. And there is zero doubt. But you already knew that. So how do we go about convincing other people that this is the case, particularly people that aren't necessarily privy to all the information that some of us may otherwise be? And so there's three principal lines of effort, three principal sources of data. There's essentially the first principles argument, which basically says, counter to common belief, that life is common in the universe. How do we know life should be common in the universe? There's 20 billion sun-like stars in the universe. The sun is a population 1 star. There are planets like this, there's stars like the sun that are 5 billion years older than the sun. That's plenty of time for other civilizations to evolve on these other planets. There's recent scholarship that says that life evolved on Earth in the Hadean era. The Hadean era was before the crust even cooled. There's recent scholarship that says that microbes have been found in terrestrial rock that have dated to 2 billion years ago, essentially in stasis. So life evolved here very quickly. There are many, many planets like the sun, and there are many, many planets that are much older than the sun. People that would argue that life is uncommon have to justify that proposition more than anyone would have to justify the fact that life evolves very quickly. The second point is faster than light travel. Everybody says faster than light travel is not possible. This is false. Miguel Alcubierre, a postgraduate student at the University of Mexico in 1994, solved Einstein's equations for an effective faster than light mechanism. NASA has investigated this. Everyone accepts his solution as valid. His solution requires negative energy. In 1960, quantum physics demonstrated or predicted the reality of negative energy. In the 90s, the Casimir effect was demonstrated in the laboratory. The Casimir effect demonstrates negative energy. The expansion of the universe, which is caused by dark energy, is negative energy. So we have a solution to Einstein's equations that allow effective faster than light travel. We've got the existence of negative energy proven. This isn't an engineering solution. This isn't a means where we can go and do this, but theoretically it's possible. And this is not argued by modern scholarship. So from a first principles, life is more than likely common, and we know that Einstein's equations support effective faster than light travel. That's the first principles argument. The second is the testimonial. Perhaps there are people out there that may know more than some of us might know, including people that have been in the intelligence community, such as myself. So we can look at several presidents, Barack Obama, President Trump. They both said UAP are real. We can look at, as was mentioned earlier, Chris Mellon, Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Lord of the Fleet, Lord Hill Norton, a chief of the defense staff in the United Kingdom in past years, have said UFOs are real. We can look at the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma in the United Kingdom again, that have said UFOs are real. We can look at the chief of the Canadian Defense Ministry, Paul Hellyer, who have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Chaim Eshed, who is the Israelis' father of their space program, who has said non-human intelligence is real. All these people and more would be in a position to know. Then we can look at the evidence, the data. You've seen the videos, the FLOR video, the gimbal, the go fast. A lot of people probably don't know Gordon Cooper, one of America's 7 Mercury astronauts, chased UFOs over West Germany in 1951. He testified to that fact before the United Nations in 1978, analogous to the David Fravor Tic Tac incident. We can look at the UFO incursions over the Northern Tier ballistic missile early warning sites in the 70s and the document supported and testimony supported readiness status change of our ICBMs in the 60s at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where many missiles were taken offline by a UFO. The analogous thing happened in the Soviet Union contemporaneously. In their case, the missiles were brought online. There's an agreement between the United States and, at the time, the Soviet Union, intending to reduce the threat of nuclear war, that talks about each party notifying the other if UFOs are impinging on their warfighting systems, because this was recognized as a fact. There's documentary evidence, the Twining memo from 1947. General Nathan Twining, future Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, wrote a memorandum that said the UFOs are most likely extraterrestrial. There's official Australian documents declassified on the National Archives of Australia from 1971 from their defense attaché that made a formal assessment of the United States' interest in UFOs, the reality of that, and the fact that the U.S. was investigating anti-gravity programs in concert with looking into UFOs, a conclusion that would make no sense unless the reality of this topic was demonstrated. So some people say, well, if this is real, why don't they fly over the White House or something? Well, in 1952, UFOs flew over Washington, D.C. over 2 weekends. There were radar visual sightings, there were air-to-air intercepts, and it created the largest press conference since World War II up to that time. People say, well, why don't they just land during the middle of the day? Well, that happened in 1994 at the Ariel School in Rua, Zimbabwe, where UFOs presented themselves with beings and occupants on the ground, witnessed by numerous children. The exact same incident happened in 1966 in Westall, Australia. The people that witnessed those events are still alive, and they continue to state the assertion of that being a factual occurrence. So these things taken together, along with much other evidence, suggest that this is absolutely true. And I'm speaking to you today to tell you that there is zero doubt this is absolutely true. I know this personally. So the way to solve this problem is to motivate the grassroots. Political activism is the solution to restoring proper oversight, developing a process for responsible disclosure, and advancing society through the efforts of that process. So I salute you for your participation in this event. Again, I thank New Paradigm Institute. I'm humbled to be able to address you and participate with you in this historic occasion, and I wish you the best. God bless.
Why does this matter and what has changed? So since 2018 Pentagon audit, Pentagon underwent its first comprehensive audit in 2018 and failed to account for over $21 trillion in transactions over a span of 2 decades. Where has the American tax dollars been spent on, and how do we know we have no governmental oversight? That is a huge issue. If you believe in UFOs or not, if you believe them or not, it doesn't really matter. We really do need to figure out exactly where this money is going, because we're paying for it. What doesn't matter, what has changed, and so 2023 UAP disclosure legislation was stonewalled. In 2023, efforts to advance the UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon disclosure through legislation, was significantly hindered by the influence of certain lawmakers and their connections to the defense and aerospace sectors. 2 key figures in blocking the more robust UAP transparency efforts were Representative Mike Rogers and Representative Mike Turner. Both Republicans. They both have received substantial contributions from major defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Radiance Technologies. And Lockheed Martin and Radiance Technologies have been talked about of potentially having some reverse engineered craft or potential programs in trying to reverse engineer the technology. So what are the key highlights of the last 10 years for disclosure? This is Lou Elizondo. He recently came out with a book, Imminent, sorry, thank you. And that is currently one of the best sellers right now. He's a former U.S. intelligence officer who played a pivotal role in bringing UAP to the mainstream attention. He's the director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification, ATIP, in the Pentagon from 2008 to 2017. He is a secretive program that studied UAPs and the potential threat to national security. And after resigning from ATIP in 2017, citing government secrecy and lack of seriousness in addressing UAPs, Elizondo went public with his concerns. He helped reveal the existence of ATIP through a New York Times article, which included a declassified U.S. Navy video of UAP encounters, which we'll see in a second, the Tic Tac video, and others. These revelations brought legitimacy to the topic, leading to a growing public and governmental interest.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My God. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. It is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like, look at that thing. It's rotating.
Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, copy.
Oh, golly! Woohoo!
Roger, there's troubleshooting to
Are you Fox moving target?
02.
No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, man. Look at it fly.
2017 New York Times article on the UAP and Pentagon UFO program. The New York Times published a bombshell report in December of 2017 revealing the existence of the Pentagon's secret Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification program, which investigated UAP encounters from 2007 to 2012. This report included videos of the U.S. Navy pilots encountering these objects, flying capabilities far beyond known technology. In 2019, the U.S. Navy confirms the UAP videos. Before that as well, there was a lot of, when the videos initially had gotten up online, there were a lot of people that, quote, just said it was fake and that there was no merit to it. And then they did work and confirm that these were actually legitimate videos. The U.S. Navy officially confirmed the authenticity of the 3 UAP videos. The Tic Tac, Go Fast, and Gimbal videos. The Navy stated these videos depicted unidentified aerial phenomena and that the objects exhibited characteristics not understood by conventional science. 2020, establishment of the UAP Task Force. In August of 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense established the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force to improve understanding and gain insight into the nature and origins of UAPs. The creation of the task force marked a formal, organized effort by military to assess the threat posed by UAPs, increase public pressure from further government disclosure. And this was like the big event last year. So 2023 U.S. Senate UAP hearing. And in July of 2023, the U.S. Congress held bipartisan public hearings on UAPs. Notably, former intelligence officer David Grush testified that the U.S. government had retrieved crashed non-human origin and had involved with a cover-up. The hearings also featured testimony from retired Navy Commander Dave Ferber, who described his encounter with a Tic Tac UAP in 2004. These hearings underscored bipartisan interest in UAP disclosure and transparency.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
So key points from Grush's testimony: non-human craft and biological evidence. Grush testified the U.S. Government had recovered non-human craft and that its information had been illegally withheld from Congress. He claimed that both the craft and biologics, potentially referred to extraterrestrial life, have been retrieved but are hidden within secret programs. Grush accused the U.S. government of extensive cover-up, stating that the officials have misappropriated funds to keep the U.S.-related operations out of public and congressional oversight. He described a covert system designed to obfuscate the truth from lawmakers and the public. Grush noted that he also faced personal and professional retaliation coming forward from this information, but remained firm in his belief that transparency on the UAP is critical for public safety and national security. Also to note, after he came out with the coming out with Congress, I believe it was a few weeks later, that his medical records were leaked that he dealt with PTSD in order to try to make him look crazy, which very much backfired because if anybody who's, a vet or, in the military know that everyone deals with trauma and PTSD, and that should not be a disqualifier. Although also other thing to note is that he kept his security clearances all through, and he also did the proper procedures on trying to get his mental health taken care of. So that thankfully backfired. Ryan Graves and David Fravor both supported the claim that UAPs have observed by military personnel. Fravor in particular described his encounter with the famous Tic Tac UAP in 2004, emphasizing that the extraordinary flight capabilities of these objects that far exceed current human technology. So what are the impacts on the world? There's global awareness of public interest. The hearing significantly amplified global interest in UAPs, reigniting public and media discussions about extraterrestrial life and government transparency. It has led to further questions about how much world governments know about the phenomenon and why this information has been concealed for decades. Grush's testimony spurred calls from lawmakers and the public for greater government transparency. It pressured the U.S. government to provide more detailed answers regarding the UAP program and activities. Members of Congress, including Senator Chuck Schumer and Marco Rubio, have pushed for further UAP investigations and disclosure on the topic. The hearings helped shift the UAP discussion from fringe conspiracy theories to mainstream security and scientific issues. The serious nature of the claims by credible military intelligence figures has led many to reconsider their views on UAPs and potential for NHI, non-human intelligence in society. So what clearances did Grush have that when he came out in front of Congress? So he did have top secret, sensitive, compartmentalized information. This is one of the highest security clearances in the U.S. government, granting access to sensitive national security information that's compartmentalized and restricted to certain individuals. This clearance allowed Grush to access highly classified UAP-related programs and intelligence. The note to make on that as well, he had access to over 2,000 programs. Even with his security clearances, he was still being blocked from information. That is to be known. If he had those clearances, he should be in the know, and they were still blocking him with that. And this has been a thing through U.S. history. Number two, special access programs, SAPs. Grush had access to multiple SAPs, which are highly classified programs involved in restricted access due to sensitive nature of the work or material involved. These programs often deal with national security, defense technologies, and often critical government operations. Controlled access programs. So these programs involve additional layers of security beyond SAPs, and Koresh had access to certain caps, and they were involved with related specifically to UAP retrieval and reverse engineering efforts. These clearances gave him insight to some of the most secretive programs the government has related to UAPs. But even again, he was being stonewalled. Grush's high-level clearances were instrumental in his role as a whistleblower, providing credibility to his claims about non-human craft and the government's alleged UAP program cover-up. So, maintaining control over the narrative. The government has often sought to control the UAP narrative to avoid public pressure for disclosure or investigation by fostering skepticism, discrediting credible sightings through misinformation. Officials have been able to dismiss UFO claims and avoid deeper inquiries into potentially unexplained phenomena. In the 1950s and 1960s, they were intention to investigate UAP sightings were later seen as part of efforts to downplay their significance. And this was the Project Blue Book. The project concluded that the most sightings that could be explained by conventional means, but critics argue that this also designed to divert attention from legitimate encounters. There was also information that came out that key people that were part of Project Blue Book were actually working for, I believe it was the FBI and the Pentagon as well. This came out after they had passed away. The intelligence community had worked to keep people from speaking out about their witness testimony, even threatening military pilots or men who witnessed UAPs flying over bases, shutting down nuclear weapons and powering off nuclear sites, which have been documented for decades. Sensor data. So the US military has detected and identified aerial phenomena through various sophisticated sensor systems. These include both traditional and advanced technologies that are part of the military radar, infrared, electro-optical, radio frequency and tracking systems. Below are some of the key data used in detecting UAPs. So we have ground-based shipboard radars, we have IR, which is infrared sensors, electro-optical sensors, flare, sonar systems, and satellite system. I do want to make a note on this as well. I have a friend who has worked for NASA. He also has worked with IR systems before, and he was working with trying to develop some AI systems to help track craft flying around, because they will be not visibly in the spectrum where we can see, but they will be able to be tracked with IR or other sensors. So upcoming UAP hearings. So we have Wednesday, November 13th. So that is
This
Wednesday. Yes, this Wednesday. At 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be having hearings coming up. Those are listed are the subcommittee members. We also have confirmed witnesses. There's going to be Rear Admiral Timothy Galladu, and then potential witnesses are former government employees with UAP exposure. This is literally off of our information we got internally with Citizens for Disclosure. So this is what we know of yesterday. There's been talks here and there, but they recently just got this information, so I wanted to include this in the presentation. So again, if you're interested in potentially joining Citizens for Disclosure, you can go ahead and scan that with your phone. Again, thank you everyone for joining us in this presentation about this.